Thanks. So, hello there. Sorry, it's hard to compete with the Mannschaft playing very soon. So, we're happy that you are here. Thank you for coming. So, we are just going to introduce myself quickly. So, I'm Laurent. I'm a nomadic CEO, entrepreneur. I founded 3 years ago Wizy. And before, since 2006, I'm working fully in Android and the Google ecosystem. I'm here with Jeremy, a CTO, who was since 3 years with us at Wizy. So the idea today is to share with you our experience, a success story as a low-cost, customer-driven and co-developed EMM. So let's start. I'm going to edit a little bit the story in the beginning for the first 10 minutes to make it a bit more interesting. So I started on a beach in Australia with my wife. You can see me here. Or in a house, it's a real picture, speaking to the birds. I was resting there after selling my company in France 2 years before. Well, I got a phone call from one of my previous customers, CIO of a courier company in France, who told me, "Guy, I need you. You should come back to France. You know, where people are demonstrating, where you have traffic jams, but basically we eat well, because I need you. I have an issue. I've changing my fleet of device from Microsoft CE to Android. I have the application. I have the Zebra devices. Everything is there. I need to deploy in like 8 to 10 months, but I have no MDM. And in fact, I have been looking at the market. My experts have been looking at the markets, and they came back to me with basically solutions which are complex, which are slow to deploy, we need experts to deploy them, and usually pretty expensive. So that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, I'm looking for a solution which is simple, easy to use, that I can deploy fast, not losing time on technicalities, which is made for noobs, or basically for people, like I like to say, idiot-proof, you know, for people who are not specifically technical, specifically like manager of depot centers, you know, managing drivers. They need to be able to onboard phones. They need to be able, you know, to block them, etc., etc. And of course, not expensive. Okay, so this doesn't fit. What I have right now on the market doesn't fit. So are you ready for the challenge? So I was sitting on my beach, and I thought, what should I do? Should I go for it, or should I stay on my beach in Australia? So I called Jeremy, and I said, Jeremy, are you up to the challenge?
Yeah, sure.
Sure? So we decided to go for the challenge. And I came back to France, and we started to deploy, to work on this project. So first thing, hey Android, is it feasible in 10 months? Because in fact, we didn't have really, we had a team, an expert team in Google Cloud Technologies, also some Android development, but we had zero experience in EMM at the beginning. So we needed, you know, to employ some people doing this. So first, is it possible? Let's start to do a proof of concept. So we contacted with experts in the field. And of course, first experts told us, basically don't go there, nothing to see, it's not for you. Okay, you are like too young, too inexperienced, etc. So the people who accepted to speak to us basically told us, you are totally nuts. Okay, to try to do this is going to take 3 years, $5 million investment to do this. So you're going basically to fail. But luckily, we contacted Android Enterprise with our customer, which was already a customer of Google. In fact, previous company I founded in Paris was the first G Suite reseller historically in Europe. So I knew some people at Google and Android, and like my customer also, my ex-customer knew some people. So we went there, we discovered what Android Enterprise was doing, and we said, okay, it's possible. 10 months later, which is August last year, we deployed 6,000 devices, Zebra devices, in a 3 weeks period. For our customer. And in fact, this video is one of the customer testimonial on the Android Enterprise main website page. So you can check the video. Sorry, it's in French, but you can check it. And 3 months later, we listed our public version of the EMM on the Android solution directory. So that's, in short, the storyline, the 18-month storyline, 18 months ago. And in fact, I'm leaving for Australia again in next week to spend 2 months there because I'm missing it. But I was full-time here working on this project since. So to be more serious now, what challenge did we face doing this? We faced some functional challenge and some technical challenge. So let's speak about these challenges. So first functional challenge. Make it easy to use, like what I said, idiot-proof. Make it easy to use for IT users, of course, IT admins centrally to deploy, but also for local business managers. Okay, the web console interface should be used by non-technical people, but people who manage drivers, who manage packets, delivery, etc. And we don't need to be trained to use an application like this. Second challenge was very important, aligned to the business needs. Okay, set up alerts that matters to the business. Because it's very well to be secure, etc., but if you don't have the right information at the right time to manage your business, you're not good. You're not better than the others. Okay? So one of the big subjects we had is how do we bring back all the information needed in order to set up the appropriate alerts for their business. The second is anticipate. The beauty of the cloud solution, because you'll see, of course, the solution is SaaS cloud, okay, with the history we have, is that we keep all the logs of everything for all the actions on the device on BigQuery, on GCP. So we have all the logs, we can do predictive analytics. We can use TensorFlow to do machine learning later on, so after a certain amount of time. So right now we are at this time we discussed where we can start to do this. Okay? So predictive analytics is something which will bring a high value to our customer. And then cover end-to-end business needs. And for this customer, one of the business needs that many customers using fleet of devices have is cover the full fleet lifecycle management. To know where is my device? Is my device operating currently? Is it in stock ready to operate? Or is it in maintenance somewhere, repair, etc., etc. So we included this in the application to cover all the business needs. And finally, align with major Google Android features. So this is the same story as I had with Google Cloud in the beginning, is that people say, yeah, but Android wants me to do this way, that way, I don't want to do it, I want to do it another way. Okay, so but what does it take for you to change a little bit how you want to work and have a much higher value after? One example I like to give is the example of a English customer where we did a proof of concept. He had his own app, but he didn't want to load it on the Google Play Store, private app on the Google Play Store. He said that I want to, it's too dangerous. It's on Google Play Store, etc. I want just to publish it from my own servers. Okay? So we convinced him for the POC to do it. He uploaded the application. Jeremy did it. He was live there doing it. They did it. And in fact, through Google Play Protect, they discovered that they had trackers installed on the new application. That most of the development was outsourced. So they discovered advertising trackers on the main business app they were going to deploy. Okay, and they looked at us, they looked at the developer, and you can see, in his eyes, we can see, he was angry with his developers. But that's one of the things. So you need to basically align what you can get out of what Android and Google does. Okay, and you can get an awful lot out of it. So that said, now we go in technical challenges, and that's for CTO.
Thank you, Laurent. So I'll come back on some of the technical challenges we faced during this project. So as a bit of a context, the project consists in manage remotely 6,000 devices. Okay. So speaking about enterprise mobile management, the first thing we have to ensure is the device security. That was one of the big challenge. Okay. Make sure that we push the right restriction, make sure that we also consider user experience, because the more restriction you push, the more you have to deal with user experience. Data encryption, data synchronization, make sure that all the data is encrypted, make sure that all the devices are synchronized with the backend. Communication is obviously one of the biggest challenges because you have to communicate with a large fleet of connected devices. For those who do IoT or Android of Things, you understand what I mean. So communication has to be real time, but has to be also cost efficient. Scalability, reliability, performance. Okay, I'm not talking about a B2C applications with billions of users. That's right. But still, we are facing some data volume scale that we have to handle properly. So first of all, we generate around 3 gigabytes of data every day, among other things, logs and data history. So we have to store that in big data table properly. We have long jobs, back office data processing. Storing the data is great, but you have to process them. And lately, 6,000 devices connected to a backend represent roughly 50 requests per second. So it's not that high, but still, you have to set this up correctly, manage instances, and mostly make sure you propose the good ratio between performance and cost. Analytics, one of the key things of this project is the data. So storing the data is great now. You have to propose great reports, KPI to be very pushy to the customer, propose to him the best view of what happened through the data for him to take the better decisions. And eventually limit the cost. We are talking about cloud infrastructure, performance versus cost. That's always the same motto. So limit the cost is one of the key things, especially once you go live, but also when you define the architecture. That being said, between you and me, I will say that are not real technical challenges. This is basics. If you want to afford such a project, you have to consider these not as technical challenges, but as basics. When you create an application on the Google Cloud Platform, when you speak about device security, there are frameworks, existing frameworks you should use as bricks, as basics, to build the entire project. So that definitely, and because we have a lot of experience as developer, as certified developer on Google Cloud Platform, that definitely just basics. And if you follow me on the social network, you will see that I like the motto, if you want to play in Premiership, you better master the basics. And that this is definitely what happened and one of the key success of this project. So due to new technology, due to the work of Google, both on the Google Cloud Platform side and Android Enterprise, we can work very efficiently on those topics. So security, scalability, and performance, we just play with the frameworks and the API proposed and the managed services proposed by Google and the Android team. Okay? The real challenge is master the basics and then face the real technical challenges, which are stay aligned with Android disruption. So when we start the project, it's a true story, because of customer history, we start with Android open source, AOSP, and after a while, and maybe also because Android team was very pushy about this project, we make a switch to Android GMS. So we start over with a new approach, device ownership, new API, new framework. So that's something you have to understand when you use such a technology, be able to flip and change strategy, technical strategy. So you have to handle with new services, complex documentation, well documentation, but still complex. And that documentation evolves through the project. So my job consists in reading over and over the same documentation, make sure that I stay updated with the last information. Also, one of the challenge you, as a technical guy, you can miss is stay connected with the Android tech team and the manufacturer. You have to be a player of the community, give feedback, raise issue, answer issue of other guys, because the more you provide, the more you get. If you want to stay updated with those new technology, you have to provide feedback. And because sometimes the API is not working, because sometimes there is some issues, because sometimes you are facing something that nobody faced before, even the Android team. So that's very important to provide feedback for them to do a better job, provide patch, correction, fixes, improvements, and also get answers from the other developers. I know this is an Android event, or that spirit of sharing is very Android, I think. On Android enterprise side, it's not different. You have to keep that in mind. Last point, which is very important, the long-term view of Android or cloud platform is not always aligned with the day-to-day issues you face during the project. And that's very important to understand that, to stay connected, to understand where they go, to provide the correct answer, to provide all the information to your customer for him to take the right decision. So sometimes we get challenged by the customer saying, hey, we want this and this. Okay, maybe if you wait a little bit, it will come up on the framework, or maybe if you change a little bit your mind, or if you change your approach, it could match. Okay, that's true on the functional level, and that's also true on the technical level. Last thing, optimal cloud architecture. So we chose to build the entire solution on the Google Cloud Platform, which really helped us. We spare a lot of time by not thinking about performance, by not thinking about load balancing and how to manage instances, etc. We just think about the right architecture. Thanks, a huge experience. Once you have that, this is the basics I talk about. You need to set the right architecture to make sure you will handle the traffic, you will handle all the specificities of your project. Once you have all of that, you can focus on the very one point, which is stick to your customer needs. So, in my opinion, velocity and agility are the two criteria you have to keep in mind. Because the specifications change so many times during the project. Because, this guy, they have a job, they are operational, so they are thinking over and over about the process, and they are improving it during your development. So if you are not comfortable enough with the basics, with the frameworks offered by Google and Android, you cannot have this high velocity and high agility required with such a project. Just to highlight a little bit the history of the project, we start in October 2016 by the proof of concept, making sure that the technology is able to take control over the device remotely. Start the project December 2016. Start over in March 2017 due to a flip from AOSP to GMS. And by the way, so we choose device ownership, and by the way, we use also Firebase cloud messaging as the communication system. Start over, deliver the solution 4 months later, in July. 1 month testing, go live in August, and we enroll 5,000 devices in 3 weeks. App Engine ran very well. It was great to see that. Second version, obviously, in October 2017, and eventually we released the public version and get the Android Enterprise Partnership in January 2018. So for those developers, as a conclusion, for those developers who worked on such a project, that's a very short period of time. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I like about the scalability. I like to also tell the story of a customer when we had developed with 200 devices plugged. Was working. I said, but can you prove it's going to work with 10,000 devices? When we had no doubt because it was plugged to GCP. So we still emulated it, put 10,000 devices, and it worked. So, but the question was here, is it going to work with a high load? When you work really on real cloud solutions, there's no issue. There is no issue about the scalability. So what lessons have we learned? Was it easy? Hell no, it was not easy. It was pretty difficult to do. It was a damn difficult job, but we succeeded because we had 3 things. We had first a customer committed to co-develop with us. Okay, so that's the first very important thing. We had a use case and a customer. The second, we had the Android partnership. So a close collaboration to Android Enterprise, the people, the tool set, the smart APIs, and I want to thank the people here, if people here from Android, about the help they've provided. And we had time and resources. We had 1 year work with a skilled team of 10 people, because we employed people skilled in this, after we faced the first challenge. So that's why we made it a success. And the second lesson learned is, and that's really important, and that goes more to the functional business side, but what's the real value? Again, I'm oversimplifying a bit because I'm a CPA by training, by the way, so I'm not an engineer, so it's easy for me to simplify the technical side, and I have a great guy, who does the job here, so that's all good. But for the customer, I mean, today, everything which is like the security, the app store, all these things is given by Android. You know, you just plug, okay? You have to plug, it's given. You don't have to spend time and resources and make sure it works. Can you imagine redevelop Google Play Protect? It's impossible. Okay, so you just use what Google, what Android is providing, and you immediately you can work at the level which is important for the customer, which is the business value. And where comes the business value from? Business value comes from data. Okay, we all know it. Everybody speaks only about data. So data for what? Data to have the alerts at the right time inside your business process. Data to do cost savings. So, for example, we can bring back all the detail of the call logs, the data logs from the phones directly on a console. Okay, which all the other EMM you have to call the telco to have the information, because you don't have it on immediately. So data is key, and of course AI ready, as I discussed before. Predictive analytics. You know, if you have a large fleet, you should be able to understand your data, to do prediction, to apply machine learning. It's a must-have in the future. Okay, or you cannot do it the first month to deploy. You need, of course, a certain set of data. But it's a must-have. So we focus on all these things. Okay, that's a real focus for our customers. And of course, easy to set up and to run. That, that's the basic. I like to compare to, I'm not going to, I know you're in Germany, but SAP, you want to use SAP, you need to be trained. Okay, you want to use the more modern accounting software online, you don't really need training. It's a bit like more, more user-friendly. It's a bit the same thing for us. So, quickly, I want to go through the 5 best practices for the successful deployment of a large amount of device in a short period. That's not only about us; it's a bit the experience we have lived. So that's first one is choose the best trade-off between speed, cost, business impact, and deployment setup. Take an MSP, managed service providers. The quicker you go, the less it costs you per device, because they put a team on it and it's finished. You use your people internally, okay, then you would put 2-3 people, you can do it month by month, a little bit each month. Okay, it'd be more cost efficient for you. But you have to adjust the business impact, when you do it, etc. So that's the first thing, to set up straight. Then, very important, select your hardware and Android version based on your apps and process requirements. Don't do the reverse. We have seen people who have been choosing, I like this Android device from this manufacturer because it's very cost efficient, etc., etc., etc. Okay, and then some end up with an AOSP device, which is not GMS, so you can use it with Android Enterprise, by the way. So it doesn't fit. The application wants to do something to the device which is not possible. So that's really also the first really an important point. Third one, test on a pilot size to optimize the deployment process. A real site with 200 people, like this case, it was a delivery depot with 200 drivers. They were fully equipped. So we did the full deployment, the full test, and then we had a smooth process for the other depot. Then go SaaS Cloud to avoid scalability issues. I think you have understood it. We're on GCP. We told you 50 times already. But I mean, that's like today, you develop an application on the cloud. Like you don't create a new car which is not at least hybrid. Okay, the same thing. There is not even a question. In order to do this, of course, you need to anticipate the network and Wi-Fi load. So you need to anticipate before to have all your where people work. You have the right Wi-Fi in it, etc., to be able to carry the load of the application. So that was the 5 best practices. To finish, this is a bit crammed together. So, sorry, we go like this. Huh? It will be easier to read. So remember how Google disrupted Microsoft business when they created G Suite, Gmail on the cloud, etc., where nobody believed it could go somewhere. I had customer in front of me who said, going to the cloud, you're going to imagine putting my email on the cloud. Doesn't make sense. It's much more secure internally. Okay, until the guys in San Francisco, in LA, it was like a movie Hollywood thing. They had all their email out, with all the stars, and they said, we should go cloud. It's more secure. Okay, and now there is no question anymore. Even Airbus has been going G Suite or cloud recently, and Microsoft has a cloud offering now, and is a leader also in a cloud in a cloud infrastructure. So Microsoft, Google was a bit in advance, pushed the order to go, and I believe that Android Enterprise is doing the same thing currently, and is disrupting the enterprise mobility segment by setting new standards for Android Enterprise, GMS. So we go from totally open source to something like more, if you want to enjoy the security, the Play Store, blah, blah, go GMS. Okay, and they bring together the OEM, the EM player, everybody around the same standards. But they take care, Android takes care then of the security and the application store. So it's pretty easy once you've done this. You can focus on the business process, on the value, on the data. This has created a playing field for new entrants, like us, okay, basically, to do things which are not possible before, to do, totally impossible. That's why they thought we were crazy 18 months ago when we started, people, experts from the domain. It has facilitated also an easy migration. The time is going to be finished where you are in one EMM, you stay 10 years, you need to stay because it's possible to migrate. The time is finished when you choose a device, whichever, and you have to stay there because you are with this, Android 4 version of this on this device, you cannot migrate. You should be able to start deploying a fleet, and in the meantime, new device go out, change the devices. Okay, why not? You don't need to be stuck with one devices. So that's what's happening. It'll take 3, 4, 5 years. Like for the cloud, it has taken like 5 years to be an evidence for everybody. So it'll take a bit of time. And then specifically, we are transiting now from Microsoft CE, for the enterprise fleets to Android. It's happening when people change their fleet. So let's give 4 or 5 years. And the next one, which can you go down because now we are. Okay, the next one is, it opens for me the door for new Android vertical or Android only vertical solutions. Okay, as a real alternative to the one-fits-all EMM solution. Very often I say I would compare, once you had Oracle SAP providing everything in the enterprise, from CRM to accounting to things. Of course, a big project doesn't always work, Anyway, that you know the story. Okay, I'm not going. Some are convinced, some are not convinced. Depends on which side of the barrier you are here. But then Salesforce arrived and said, we're going to do CRM, very good, well, SaaS, cloud, etc. Everybody laughed at Benioff and at Salesforce, and they became the leaders in a SaaS, in a CRM. So one. So we believe the same thing will be happening on the EMM side. Okay, which we should maybe change the name because EMM is really technical, nobody knows what it is. So on the control of management of device, etc., I don't know, we maybe have to find a new name. Same thing will happen, and a very complex solution will slowly be replaced by really a business vertical solution, bringing business value where for aligned to the business processes. For this one, there is no need to manage Apple and Android, because of course, if you are in a shop, in a luxury Dior or Cardin shop, of course, or whatever shop, Hugo Boss shop, you're going to have a nice iPhone tablet or iPad iPhone, because luxury for customers. Okay, but 90% of the users in industry, manufacturing, courier, restaurant, all the other shops will use Android. So Android only, it's good, because also we can be fully aligned with what Android is how Android is evolving. Next version, no problem. We are only on Android. It's there immediately. Day it comes out, maybe a few weeks later, because my CTO will tell me you're a bit too rough and tell me to do the thing for the day after. But it will be there. We'll be there much quicker than the other ones. So that's why we are here, and that's why we decided also to go along the way of creating, which seems to be time a bit crazy for people, a new EMM in a segment full of very powerful players today. So before we drop the mic, if you have some questions, we are here for you.
First of all, thank you too. Thank you for your talk. Are there any questions? Will you go? No, I can give you my mic.